Half a day, everyone. Good morning. The Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today's Friday, June 4, 2021, and the time is 9:10 a.m. Notices for this virtual public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Thursday, May 27th, and again on Wednesday, June 2nd. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on May 27 and June 2nd. The Zoom meeting is hosted by the legislature's AV staff and my committee staff, and I thank them for their assistance. The host will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and begin by stating their name for record-keeping purposes. Today, we have one agenda item, and that is Bill number 136-36 COR, introduced by myself, Therese M. Terlaje. It's an act to amend Section 7120 of Chapter 7, Title 7, Guam Code Annotated, relative to the preservation and disposition of court records. I'd like to thank my colleagues for joining me, beginning with Senator Terlaje and Senator Joanne Brown. Those Mossy senators for being here with me. Now I'm going to recognize those who've signed in to testify, and if you could introduce the representatives from the court. I'm going to call on the clerk of the court, Ms. Danielle Rossetti.
Good morning, Attorney Danielle Rossetti, Superior Court Clerk of Court, and with me this morning is our Director of Policy Planning and Community Relations, Attorney Alicia Limtiaco, and also our Court Archivist for the Superior Court, Mr. Carl Perez.
Thank you, Ms. Rossetti, Director Limtiaco and Archivist Mr. Perez. Thank you for being here this morning. If you could, this bill was introduced by myself at the request of the Judiciary, pursuant to a resolution that the Judicial Council had passed. And I would ask Ms. Rossetti if she could please read that resolution.
Yes, it's Judicial Council Resolution number 20-030 relative to approving proposed legislation amending Section 7120 of Title 7, Guam Code Annotated, on the preservation and disposition of court records. Whereas the Judiciary of Guam is in the process of implementing a judiciary-wide document management system, which is intended to reduce the need for the costly physical storage of documents and enhance accessibility to court documents. The judiciary documents are generally divided into two categories for preservation and storage. One, court documents are governed by 7 GCA Section 7120 and miscellaneous Rule 6.1 of the local rules of the Superior Court of Guam. And two, non-court documents are governed by the record retention policy approved in Judicial Council Resolution number JC 07-027. And whereas 7 GCA Section 7120C prohibits the destruction of an original court document, even if such an original document has been copied to a photograph or microphotograph or reproduced on film or in computerized form. And whereas the cost to the judiciary for the physical storage of original court records have become very prohibitive as the volume of such documents continues to grow, and whereas technology is available to ensure the safe, permanent storage of electronic copies of court records, and whereas 7 GCA Section 7120, as presently written, prevents the judiciary from determining how to best permanently store copies of court records and from fully implementing the planned document management system. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Judicial Council hereby approves the proposed legislation in Exhibit A, and be it further resolved that the Chief Justice is hereby requested to transmit the proposed legislation in Exhibit A hereto to the legislature for its consideration. Duly adopted this 15th day of October 2020 at a duly noticed meeting of the Judicial Council of Guam, signed by the Honorable F. Philip Carbolito, Chairman, dated 10/16/2020.
Thank you very much for reading that resolution. Is there any other additional testimony that any of the representatives from the Judiciary would like to present this morning?
Madam Speaker, the Administrator of the Court will be submitting written testimony before 5 p.m. today. We will be available for questions, though.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So for my colleagues, I'd like to also recognize Senator Tony Atta thank you for joining us, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And, again, we have Senator Taitukui and Senator Brown with us this morning. We received a fiscal impact note on this bill, and according to the Bureau of Budget and Management Research, BBMR, based on comments received by the Judiciary, Bill 136 will provide a cost-saving measure for the judiciary. This may be in part due to the proposed removal of maintaining microfilm or photographic storage or of computerized records. However, absent additional information specific to the potential cost-saving measures as commented by the Judiciary, the Bureau is unable to determine an approximate fiscal impact at this time. Our Legislative Bureau provided preliminary recommendations for technical amendments to the bill and no other comments. So I guess I would just like to ask if the Judiciary could maybe expound on cost savings. How do you expect cost savings to be achieved?
So Senator, we do have an offsite storage where we store court records. And it's my understanding from our administrator that annually the cost to store our court records it averages about 90,000, little over 90,000 annually. So the goal of this proposed legislation is that once those records are archived in a digitized format, it would reduce the footprint of where we are currently storing our court records.
By how much do you think it can be reduced?
I can say I can speak to the records at the Superior for the Superior Court cases, for cases that, granted were filed in the 1940s. At the Sinahanya storage where we have our records, we probably take up about 75% of the storage facility. So we do have, the facility also houses and stores other records for the judiciary, administrative records, for the other divisions within the courthouse. But generally speaking, on average, a little over 90,000 is what is spent to lease the storage facility.
Right. So do you believe that you would be able to wipe that annual expense out entirely, or half, or approximately?
Not entirely, because we still need to have a storage facility, an offsite storage facility. And we do have records in our main courthouse that are no longer active that need to be digitized. And so it's a transition phased in approach. It's not something that we will complete overnight upon the passage of this legislation, but it is a project that we will continue to work on regularly to ensure that we digitize and preserve all court records.
All right. Well, first, let me recognize the presence of Senator Moylan. Thank you, Senator Moylan, for joining us this morning as well. And I'm curious because I'm looking to the judiciary as kind of an example for the rest of the government. We have the same issues here at the legislature. We have other agencies. Department of Chamorro Affairs is supposed to be the repository of many documents. The Commission, the Chamorro Language Commission, is also supposed to be in charge of, preservation of records, and so is the Guam Library. So I'm sure that all of them may be interested in how the court does this, and how and how we can adequately preserve yet save money, and of course save space, and make these documents available. Do you think you will achieve additional ease of producing these documents for people by doing this?
So I will share that we kind of are in a hybrid approach. We have been since 2011 under our current electronic case management system. We have been digitizing court records, keeping the original paper record, and providing that more efficiently to court patrons, to attorneys, and to those seeking requests for court documents. We have, as the pandemic has forced many changes upon all of us, We have been accepting filings electronically by email or through our e-filing portal. So really this is the direction that we would like to move forward to be more efficient, to allow patrons to be able to access records remotely, and also to file documents remotely in court cases. And it's a standard that is practiced in almost every other court jurisdiction in the country. We just want to get on to that course, and we have e-filing implemented at the Supreme Court. Most of the attorneys are filing by the e-filing portal, and at the Superior Court we have started that trend, but most of the filings exist at the Superior Court level, and so we would like to move forward in that, ensuring that the statute allows us to preserve the records in a format that is acceptable and widely used, and also to ensure that we improve access to justice and we provide efficiency. Because even with e-filed documents, we still have to print it and we still have to maintain the paper record because of this legislation. We would hope to move in the next couple of years or so to a paper on demand world, as opposed to, we print everything and we have maintain a paper file and an electronic file. So that's where we are at now.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. And I definitely support those efforts. I would like to see that for the rest of the government, especially to increase access. So I'm going to open this now for my colleagues for questions. Senator Taitigui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And Madam Clerk, thank you for being here today, along with Director Lim Tiaco, Mr. Perez. Appreciate your comments that being made. The resolution is very clear. I think we can follow through that direction. Of course, I had a question too with regards to the fiscal note, but I appreciate the explanation. I'm hoping that it will reduce your footprint. 90,000 plus could go to other things that's much needed at the judiciary. The one thing I had a question on with regards to the storage facility, I know that there was a warehouse that was burnt down, burnt, and a lot of records were damaged in that storage. So are records at the judiciary stored in a protected location because of that fire currently? And are there duplicates being made to file stored digital forms, just in case of the loss of some of your documents, important documents?
So thank you for that question, Senator Taitigui. We do have, and we have been digitizing and duplicating our court records electronically. And so as an example, if a case was filed and it was closed by the court and no longer pending before the court, it is already archived in a digital format here in our electronic case management system before it's physically stored at our offsite storage. We have older records, that were microfilmed. So we do have microfilms still for the older cases, but we do have some older records that we are working on trying to preserve in a different format other than the physical files. So we are mindful of keeping all court records in a duplicate format. And that's kind of what we continue to work on as we work in the court archivist office. That's their primary duties daily.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And the area in which it's located, is it protected? I mean, consider what happened in Harmon with the warehouse burning and other files that were destroyed. The area that you do have them stored at are in the protected area?
It is located in Sinahanya. I don't know if you're familiar with the old, is it Ben Franklin, or it's where
Yes.
next to the Public Defenders Services Corporation offices. That's the facility we are leasing. It is an air-conditioned unit. I will say that, on a daily basis, because we have to retrieve court records, physical records, we do have staff that regularly go up to the storage facility. And so there's, constant flow of, but we maintain it and we try to check in on it regularly, because it's my fear as clerk of court, I am the custodian of those records. So we try to ensure we take every reasonable measures to keep those records safe.
So I suppose then the best way too, I'm finding out that, and very helpful and cost efficient, is using cameras, to monitor any kind of motion sensor or even heat sensor to be provided is very helpful. I hope you have that in place too as well, just for protection.
Yes, we do.
Very, very good, very good. Well, thank you so much, Madam Clerk, and the great job you're doing down at the Judicial. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I don't have too much comment on the bill. I mean, yes, you certainly have articulated the issues and the testimony that's already been provided. I think we're recognizing, of course, as mentioned, not only with the court, but the rest of the government of Guam, and how are we going to deal with, of course, the permanent documents that we need to keep, and how do we have it accessible, but yet do it in a way where it's not taking a substantial amount of storage space that most department agencies and are having to actually have located at another site, because our buildings were never designed with an awful lot of thought about addressing storage capacity. And certainly for the court, where these documents are very critical, they're critically important because of decisions that have been made that affect members of our community, family relations, all sorts of things that come with it. I mean, we understand the importance of that, and also the need to take advantage of technology that we have available, so that we can maximize our storage capacity, and yet, as more importantly, and as articulated also, the need to always have these records available that are determined to be permanent records. So I have no further comment, and thank you for the Judiciary for providing their input with regards to this, and certainly bringing an issue to light that while we know there's a need for it, it's not something you think about every day, but nevertheless something important to know how moving forward can we maintain and store our permanent records and do it in a way that's still cost effective and allows us the capacity, because there's no doubt as time goes on, these records are going to do nothing but grow. So thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on this bill.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Atta, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I don't have any questions. Just like to thank the Judiciary for their input on your legislation here, and hopefully we'll be able to move forward with it. I think it's important to know that in this day and age where modern technology is one of those things, also keeping record keeping is also one of those aspects that we need to also keep in mind, that the agencies or departments, or like the Superior Court of Guam, will be able to maximize space with the least amount of hard records, hard copy, paper copies, so that they be able to save money on any additional space they may need. But at the same token, having the important documents that readily available should people come into a request for them. But absolutely, thank you for your testimony, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Atta. Senator Moylan, you are recognized.
Thank you for the presentation, Judiciary, and I have no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Moylan. Can I ask a couple more questions? First is your digitization done in-house, or do you contract that out? I just want to get an idea of what the options are for the rest of the government.
It's done in-house.
And does this include, now that you are doing Zoom hearings, does that include also like archiving those recordings of hearings?
So currently the official court record is the digital audio recording that we use for our courtroom system. It's called For the Record system. So the Zoom hearings are not being recorded and maintained as the official court record. It's our audio recording system in our courtrooms that are set up that is able to pick up the Zoom proceedings. So no, we use the current audio digitizing recording system for our court hearings.
Right, and you store those long-term, the digital audio?
Yes, we do.
All right, and then I know recently, when we passed a law that the court decisions would be put up by the compiler, and I just want to tell you, I I love that. I know I was the sponsor of that bill, but I love being able to access the court decisions on a very timely basis. It's been very helpful to me. So I want to thank you all for your work in that regard. And I know you continue to do that. I would love to see the filings accessible as well, right, to everyone. But
correct. So we work in tandem with the compiler's office. So as an example, that paper document is scanned into our case management system and then sent in a PDF format to the compiler so that it is readily accessible to the members of the public and the senators like yourselves.
It's really, I know that you've really stepped it up, the filings in the Superior Court because of the pandemic. And for me to access these things, by computer, it's really, really been very helpful during the pandemic. One more question is, on page 2 of the bill, Part D, it changes the Judicial Council from promulgating the rules and replaces that with the Superior Court. The Supreme Court of Guam may promulgate the rules. And I just want to know if you could explain that change.
Sure. So as the senators probably know, the retention schedule for court records previously existed in Title 7 of the Guam Code Annotated. I believe it was Rule 93. And then the Supreme Court in 2006 promulgated, and those rules were moved to local rules of court. So under their Organic Act authority, the Supreme Court makes and promulgates rules for the Judiciary of Guam, for both the Superior and the Supreme Court. And so they would, the rules would be presented to the Supreme Court, and they will promulgate it, because our current existing retention schedule rules, which they will have to review and promulgate, exists in our local rules of court, which were promulgated by the Supreme Court. So, generally for the administrative portion of the retention schedule, yes, the Judicial Council does review and approve and adopt that. And because 3 of our Supreme Court justices are also members of the Judicial Council, they work hand in hand, and it's just that the procedure for how rules are passed and allowed and followed and adopted is through the Supreme Court of Guam under their Organic Act authority.
All right. When rules are promulgated, if you could just remind everyone, those are published on the website of the Judiciary. I know I found them there.
Correct. Rules are presented, and there is a comment period sent to both the public as well as to the Guam Bar members.
All right. Okay. Are there any other questions by my colleagues? If not, I want to thank you all from the Judiciary for your recommendations and for your answering of these questions today, your testimony. And it sounds like, this is something that we can all get behind. And I want to thank you for leading us in this regard. There's being no other testimony. The committee will consider Bill 136-36 COR duly heard. Public hearing is now adjourned and the time is 9:33 a.m.
Thank you,